my friends. Right, we are finally here, and I have a phone in my hand because if by any chance I can't stream in, and we're going to try one more time, our lovely friend Dr. John Douillard, and he is the author of this amazing new book called Eat Wheat. We're going to try and get him on right now, and if not, we're going to talk to him on the phone. So let's see, John, let's see if we can get you. Okay, we're going to try one more time. Okay, no, I don't think we can. Let's try. Oh, let's try that. Okay. All right. Are we able to? Hey, Patty. Hey, Debbie. Hi, Suzanne. Thanks for joining, ladies. We're just trying to, it's this really impossible technology that we're trying to get my lovely friend, Dr. John, on this. Hi from Japan. Wow. All right, so this is what we're going to do, my friends. I have John. John, say hello to everybody. Can you hear him? You're probably not going to hear that well. John, you have to shout a little bit louder. So we will do this another time when this technology has worked out. But what I want to do is I want to basically introduce you to Dr. John Douillard. Now, he is the author of this brand new book. He's actually, how many books have you written, John? Okay, John has written 7 books, and he's an Ayurvedic doctor, and his most recent book, which really caught my attention, and I know it's caught yours, is called Eat Wheat. Now, John, that is super duper controversial. Hi, Maria. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Asisa. That is very controversial. So I'm going to read you what the subtitle is on this book. It says, a scientific and clinically proven approach to safely bringing wheat and dairy back into your diet. So that's very interesting, John. And I will also say for you, please everybody stay on this live stream and stay to the end because we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're giving away 3 signed copies of John's wonderful book, which you're probably going to want to get. So stay, and as usual, by the way, with my Facebook Lives, the way that you can enter to win any giveaway is make sure you share this with your friends and tag your friends. Share and tag, and then that way we pick a winner from that. Who have we got? Tani, hi, Patty, Deb, Happy New Year. Oh my gosh, John. I'm talking, by the way, it looks really weird for those of you who have just hopped on because I'm talking to Dr. John Douillard, who is at one of this country's, or if not this country's, most prominent Ayurvedic doctor. He is the author of 7 books. We're talking about his latest book, which is called Eat Wheat, and we want to delve into that a little bit. The reason why I'm holding this phone is because we tried the technology, which is very new, of bringing, I wanted to have John on a split screen so you could all talk to him at the same time, and unfortunately it wasn't working. I'm kind of a little embarrassed about that. Hi Teresa, hi Lisa, Happy New Year. And I'm glad that you've stayed with us and that you're back. All right, so first off, this is total experiment, guys, because to do a live stream with John on a very, very bad speakerphone, I'm so apologize to John and to you guys, but we're going to try and make the best of this. So, hi, Kristen. So the first thing, John, my first question to you is, why is it okay to eat wheat? We've been told by so many doctors and healthcare professionals that wheat is the devil incarnate, that it creates inflammation, that it plays havoc with the skin, that anybody who has any kind of health issue should avoid it. So what is your answer to that? Hi, Debbie. John, I'm going to have to translate what you're saying because it's not loud enough on the phone. So I'm basically going to have to transcribe what you're saying. But just, yeah, tell me. I don't think they're going to hear you. You can't hear him, can you guys, either way? I don't really think they can, John. So I think we're going to have to do the best that we can, and then we're going to have you back when I can actually figure out how to get you on. But for now, if you tell me what the answer is, and if you guys have any questions to John, leave them in the comments underneath, and I'll see if I can get like a really quick answer for John. So John, no, they can't hear you, John. They can't. So in short, John, why are you telling people that they can eat wheat?
In America so well, but we never really look deeper into the cause. And wheat, yes, I understand if people eat wheat and they feel bad, you shouldn't eat it. But don't stop there. Let's fix the problem, and then maybe you can begin to eat whole wheat, non-refined wheat, and break bread again.
Okay, so in short, I know some of you were trying to, I think some people heard you. Oh, good. Some people heard you a little bit. That's awesome. Guys, if you've just joined this live stream, I apologize so much. We've had some technical issues of getting John on. He was going to be on live with us, split screen. Still working on that technology. Didn't work for tonight. John is the author of a new book called Eat Wheat that I have read. It is a really interesting and very, very clever book. And so we're asking questions. So, oh, good. I'm glad you did. Yes, he's on the speakerphone. John is on the speakerphone. Okay, so first off, John's answer when I said, you know, how, and John, correct me if I'm wrong here, because poor John, I'm sort of don't want to put words in his mouth. But basically what John said was that, you know, we are used to these processed diets of highly processed and highly refined foods. And John, what I heard you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong in short, is that, you know, we're almost sort of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because in saying don't eat wheat, we're sort of, what you're referring to is don't eat these highly refined processed foods. But if we are healthy, we can eat some unrefined whole grains and be perfectly fine with that. Is that, have I translated that right?
They've replaced those fats with processed, bleached, deodorized, boiled fats that have literally broken down our digestion, specifically our liver and our gallbladders, which is why gallbladder surgeries are the #1 surgery in America today. And that gallbladder actually helps us digest wheat, because if the bile flow is congested for some reason because of processed foods, there isn't enough bile to neutralize the acid in your stomach, and over time, your stomach will just stop making the acid and therefore not be able to digest wheat. So we say, hey, I feel bad when I eat wheat, so I stop eating it, but you're also not able to digest the fats that the bile is supposed to emulsify, and that includes the mercury on the organic vegetables, which you can't wash off. So if you just take wheat out of your diet and you don't fix the digestive problem, we've got 400 billion pounds of toxic chemicals dumped in the American environment every single year. Mercury on the from the coal mine plumes on organic vegetables that you can't wash off. be giving you a false sense of security and putting you at risk for exposure to real dangerous toxins down the road. So, yeah, if you feel bad eating wheat, stop eating it. Definitely stop eating refined foods for sure. Eat whole organic foods more, but definitely let's fix the digestive system, and that's what I talk about in the book, is how to troubleshoot your digestion and reboot it and not just treat the symptoms.
Wow. Okay. So I don't know who heard that. I know some of you did hear it very, very faintly. This is like so technically, John, it is so technically old school. And I know because, John, we're getting so many questions. They're just rolling down. So John, we're having you back on once I figure this out. But basically, this is what I heard John saying. And I've worked with John before. I know John's, philosophy, and have so much respect for him and what he says and his knowledge. And I think the thing that I have most respect for with John, and he's quite fascinating to talk to, is that, John, it treats the whole person when he's treating you as a doctor. And it's true sort of integrated functional medicine at its best, because what he's taught me is how all the different pieces fit together. And John, I don't know if you agree, but we live in such a sort of reductionist model as far as nutrition is concerned now, where we sort of take one nutrient and say it's the best thing since sliced bread, excuse the pun, and then we sort of all need to be taking that, or we vilify an ingredient. So we take something like wheat or grains, and suddenly it's the sort of worst thing in the world. But what I heard John say was that, it's to do with our gallbladder and our production of bile, correct, John? And that if that's running smoothly, if it's a well-oiled engine of our system, that our gallbladder is functioning and producing bile and the right quality, because I know you've talked about the quality of bile before to me, thin or thick bile, then we're better able to digest the things that we actually should be eating for good health. Now, yes or no, did I get that right?
Compromised, and that has to be addressed. And wheat is not the issue. It's a symptom of weak digestion, not the cause.
Oh, now that is so interesting. So it's a symptom. It's not the cause, is what Dr. Douillard is telling us. So, and to me, it makes so much sense, because John and I have talked before about, the digestive system of a child, of a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old. And, you often look at them. I look at my daughter, John, and I think, and John, how many children have you got, John? 6 children. He's got 6 children. But I look at my daughter and I think, wow, they can eat anything and still have, beautiful skin and body and energy and everything else. And, John has taught me that it's because, obviously when we're younger, everything is functioning at its sort of highest level, our digestion and everything, and as it should be. And then as we get older and we live on the SAD diet, the standard American diet, which is primarily made up of processed and refined foods, that starts taking its toll on our body, to the point that we get to a point where many of us are right now, John. Very, very many of my audience have allergies, they have IBS, they cannot tolerate any wheat whatsoever. They have insensitivity and allergies to so many different foods. And so, John, what I hear you saying is that if we sort out the cause, and that's, I would imagine, what your, the message of your entire book, then we can introduce these foods back into our diet, and indeed we should, because whole grains are pretty healthy, right?
Volumes of studies showing that whole grains are actually very, very good for you. And in fact, there are studies that show that, and this might be really hard for your audience to hear, but there are studies that show that when people eat a gluten-free diet, there is significant nutritional deficiencies in one
Oh, now, John, hang on a second here, because hang on a second, John, you've started on a subject that is so up my alley. But first off, because people are really having trouble hearing you, and this is such valuable information. I know, by the way, guys, I know if you've just joined, you might think this is the weirdest thing that you've ever seen. I was going to be doing this interview live, split screen, with this wonderful, wonderful, the most premier Ayurvedic doctor in the country, Dr. John Douillard. Please, everybody, follow him on Facebook. Go and check him out because he's got so much valuable information. He's just come out with this new book, which is called Eat Wheat. And we're giving away 3 signed copies of his book today. So do tag your friends and do share this. But the reason why I've got this weird, like antiquated phone here, because I never use a landline anymore. So this is kind of a little bit of a strange phone that clearly isn't working very well, is because we didn't manage to get John on. So we're trying to kind of do a weird sort of conference call thing, which is very bizarre, and huge apologies to John and for you at home. Will not happen again. But what I did want to recap on what John said, and a lot of you didn't hear, is this. And that is that, you know, what John is saying is that people on completely gluten-free diets, it can actually be damaging because you're not getting the nutrients, you're not getting the, you know, the prebiotics, right, John? You're not getting everything that you need for good health and a really healthy gut. And that, John, the thing that's so interesting about this book is it's supported by so many studies that are just fascinating to read. John, a question that we've had a lot of during this stream that I've been noticing is people are talking a lot about sprouted grains. Any thoughts on that?
Or soak your grains, it makes these grains much easier to digest. But on the other hand, these anti-nutrients have also been shown to be extremely beneficial. Of course, there are studies saying that they're hard to digest and they cause certain problems, but there are also many studies showing that the phytic acids and the lectins are actually incredibly beneficial. So, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, is because you have science on one side of the aisle, and all we're hearing is the science saying gluten is bad, mostly sugar is bad, and they're saying that wheat is like sugar, but wheat is not like sugar. Refined wheat acts like sugar, but whole grains lower blood sugar. So there's so much science that no one's heard before, and I felt an obligation to say, hey, we need to see and hear that maybe we found wheat and gluten guilty without giving it a fair trial, and definitely without fixing the cause. So the sprouting is wonderful, and it makes it easier to digest, but also we also want to be thinking how we can strengthen our digestion so these anti-nutrients aren't so problematic in terms of digesting.
Right, okay, so John, fascinating. So basically, yes, what John is basically saying is, you know, if you have trouble digesting wheat, then yeah, absolutely go for sprouted grains, which probably make it a little bit easier to digest. But again, what John keeps on coming back to in his book, and John's philosophy, is fix the problem. And the problem is that we should be able to digest these grains, and these grains have so many nutrients in them that we really actually need. And so, John, because with 100 million%, I'm going to have you back. And my promise to you guys is that we're going to work this out, that we can really have John here live, because I just think there's just so much information that we need to hear here. But I have 2 questions for you. The first, John, is, you know, if we need to fix the problem, like say somebody has been eating a really poor diet for years and years and lots of refined foods. And don't forget, my friends out here, and I'm sure John will agree, that gluten-free diets can be incredibly unhealthy, because if you look at the ingredients on gluten-free cookies and breads and all sorts of things, not on all brands, but on some brands. You're talking, right, John, about a lot of highly, highly processed grains that are really going to shoot your blood sugar up sky high. So just resorting to those foods, what John is saying is not only not the answer, but it could actually do more damage than good. But John, in short, if, people are going whole, yes, absolutely whole grains, whole wheat bread, and it has to be 100% whole wheat, by the way, on the label, on the bread. But John, if somebody feels that they're really messed up and they've been diagnosed with allergies and they just can't tolerate, can you give us a few simple tips? What would be the first thing in correcting my gallbladder, in making sure that my bile is healthy? What can you give us a few tips? Oh, wait, John. Wait. This is really important. Let me just recap that. So, the first thing John said is eat organic. And is this all foods, or are you just, we're talking about bread right now? That is, now this is such an important piece of information. So John, in case those of you didn't hear, said that, pesticides on our foods actually interfere with our microbiome. They interfere with the good bacteria in our gut. And I think a lot of us think, pesticides, they're washed off our food and everything. But I think once you start understanding pesticides on that level, it becomes absolutely imperative to buy organic. And then the other thing that John said was that the ingredients, when you're looking at a loaf of bread, or some of you may even be bread makers at home, but when you're looking at it, John said 100% whole wheat, water, and then what were the other ingredients, John? Salt, organic starter. So I'm going to say that one more time. Organic whole wheat, water, salt, and an organic starter. So no sugar at all, John, and no yeast. Okay, that's really interesting. So what John said is the oils that are put in these refined foods, and in probably 99.9% of breads that you find on your supermarket, your grocery store shelf, is going to contain some kind of an oil. And it's fascinating when you look at what these oils are: soybean oil, palm oil, at very best it might be an olive oil or something. But these oils are often, very low grade, cheap, rancid oils. And John is saying therein lies, that is would you say, John, that's almost the worst part of the equation in terms of what is put in a refined, commercially made bread? Oh my gosh. All right, my friends, look at this amazing information that John's giving us. He's saying that even if you use the best quality oil, so you're baking bread and you're using, really good cold pressed olive oil or whatever, what John's saying that in the baking process, that oil is going to be destroyed. It's going to create free radicals, right, John? It's going to become rancid. And therein lies the problem. So that is just revolutionary for most people. And actually, John, I found that when I go to my farmer's market, I can actually, there's 2 or 3 bread makers there, and I actually do turn over the label, and I think, wow, there's 3 or 4 ingredients in that bread. And it's a beautiful whole wheat sourdough loaf that is more delicious than anything else. I buy it for my daughter, she loves it. And it doesn't seem to pose a problem. I'm just going to throw in there, there are so many questions, John. I just want to throw in there, John, somebody left a comment about a child of theirs that's been diagnosed as a celiac. Now that's something entirely different, right? With that, though, if you're a celiac, that's off. That's a different deal, correct?
Deal, and they should avoid wheat. But that said, the good sourdough bread that you mentioned, which takes 3 days to bake versus 2 hours to bake the supermarket bread,
Wow.
actually gobbles up all the gluten in the bread and literally renders the bread gluten-free in a natural way.
Wow, wow. That is amazing, amazing. So actually, probably, John, we should all learn to bake our bread at home, correct?
Even at Whole Foods, you have to read the label because they sneak the oil in because the oil makes the bread last longer, stay softer longer. But really good bread will last a couple of days at the most, and then it gets hard.
Ah.
And now we make breads that last a month, and that's, the microbes won't even touch that bread, and why should we?
Ah, okay, so very interesting. So what John just said, and again, I really apologize, folks, if you've just joined this live stream, that technically we're very challenged. I'm on an antiquated speakerphone here. I know most of you cannot hear John. We're going to have John back sooner rather than later so we can really dive in. And I know you've got so many questions, as have I, that I want to ask John. Just fascinating stuff. But one of the things that John just said now was that, you can go to Whole Foods or a health food store and look at the label. And he said, be very careful because they will try and sneak oil into the label. And you might think, oh, it's a little bit of oil, it's fine. But what John's saying is that the reason they put the oil in is to increase the shelf life of the bread. But again, it's still a problem. So we want to have bread that is just those 4 ingredients, just 100% whole wheat, salt, water, and a starter. So that basically means it's a sourdough bread, if you like. And that most people should be fine with that. John, I have a question. 2 questions, actually. Paleo diet. It's huge right now. People are going completely bananas about the paleo and not eating any grains. And I see it and hear it everywhere, like grain-free this, grain-free that. Again, I guess from what you've already said, you don't agree with that, but because by taking out these important grains, we're taking out very valuable nutrients. Is that correct?
Well, when you talk to Harvard anthropologists that I have, they'll tell you straight up that the paleo diet included grains, included cereals, and to just globally take it out of our diet because it's harder to digest and not really fix the problem.
Right, exactly. And that... Wow.
After all these years, if you take grains, all grains out of that, which we've been eating for 4 million years.
Wow.
Another pendulum swing that we have no idea what we're doing just because I feel a little bit trouble when I eat the grain. Well, let's eat non-refined grains. Let's eat whole grains. Let's fix the digestive system. Let's get the processed food out of the body. Let's get the pesticides out of the body. And then start eating natural foods again, but not create some brand new diet that never has been eaten before. And short term, you're going to feel great, you're going to lose weight and everything. But long term, meat and vegetables is a unsustainable diet long term for people. And there's already good science showing that.
Wow, that is just absolutely fascinating, John. And I think it's fascinating because we've heard of so many of these kind of versions of the paleo diet and everything. And what John is saying, and it's absolutely always been my philosophy, is that the sort of science or the philosophy of what Paleolithic people ate in the first place is so completely off. And that, as John said, they actually did eat grains and grasses and cereal grains and whatnot. And what I hear really loudly and clearly is what John is saying is that, you know, these grains, it stimulates our immune system. And what John is saying is that if we start eliminating all these foods from our diet, then we are, you know, we're gonna have serious problems, because our body needs to have all these different foods. Correct, John? Yeah. And
All the bugs in the large intestine are fed by many of these, many of the fiber from grains, and we take it all out. Boy, that could be problematic, and you know, it's uncharted territory, and we
yeah.
years ago, and it turned out really bad.
Yeah. So John, what's John saying is that, you know, in following all of this paleo and you know, strictly gluten-free and everything, that, you know, it's uncharted territory, because we're taking out foods that actually we probably really need. And, you know, one of the things that we need that's vital is the prebiotic to feed the good bacteria in our gut. And once we start taking that out, then we're in serious, serious trouble, because we're talking about our immune system and our brain health. And so it just affects everything. And also, John, I believe that there's a lot of very important vitamins and minerals in whole grains as well. And again, I've always said to you know, all of my friends here, that you start, the worst thing about refined food is once you take that outer kernel off in the refining of food, you've lost all the goodness and all those minerals and vitamins you need, and particularly the B vitamins. So again, that's, you know, so what John's saying is it's not an answer obviously, you've got to get rid of all the refined and unprocessed foods immediately. And then he's also saying, but do not throw out all grains. It is not the right thing to do. It's uncharted territory. It could lead to severe problems. And again, what John's taught me, and he keeps going back to, is, you know, let's get back to the problem and not the cause. So John, I have a question. You taught me a long while ago, and it was just one of the most valuable health tips, about the value of beets, raw beets, in terms of improving digestion, improving bile flow. Is that correct? Is that something you would recommend for almost everybody to add to their diet?
Apples, celery makes a great juice, and artichokes are the big ones to increase your bile flow and to rejuvenate your gallbladder and your liver. So everybody should try to do all of those, if not, you know, a couple. Some people just don't like beets, I get that. But try to beets, apples, celery, and artichokes.
Okay, so let's just stop there, because everyone's going to want this information really laid out. So we have beets, we have celery, we have apples, and we have artichokes. So John, I've got a lot of people doing my Get Your Greens challenge, which is to eat bunches of dark leafy greens every single day, a pound of greens a day, and switch up your greens. And everyone's doing that, or a lot of you are doing that, and great for those of you who are, by way of a giant smoothie. So here's the really cool thing, guys, that you can start putting this into practice from what John said. Add celery to that, and it's a smoothie, John, not a juice, so everyone's getting the full complement of fiber. And, you know, juicing it in blending it in your Vitamix. So you can add celery. There's apple in there already in my recipe, and I say, John, to keep the skin on the apple so that you get all those nutrients. But it must be organic, guys. Absolutely make sure your apples are organic. And the greens. But now, if we want to add a bit of beet to that, I guess it's probably going to have to be a beet juice, my friends, because it's not very nice putting a whole bit of beet into your Vitamix blender. Correct, John? Is that, you wouldn't recommend that? Well, how much? So if we're making the ultimate smoothie that's going to really help to heal our, gallbladder and our bile and dramatically improve digestion, would it be, or could I do like a walnut-sized chunk of beet and then eat some with? All right. Yeah, okay, so that's a really good point. So John said, if we can all of us try and eat at least one beet a day in whatever form you can eat it. So you could, I actually don't like it in my smoothie, so I don't put it in my smoothie, but here's how I love, and John actually taught me to do this a few years back, is what I do is I get a beet and I grate it up, and it doesn't have to be a red beet, it can be a golden beet, right, John? So it can be a golden beet, so you don't have to get all that mess all over your hands. Grate it up, just sling it on a salad, I make these lovely dinner bowls, the Buddha bowls at night. Fresh lemon juice, a little bit of, maybe a little Himalayan sea salt, or I make these salt-free tahini dressings, and it is so delicious. So why not throw that into your health challenge that you're all doing now? So you'll carry on with your Get Your Greens challenge, and then throw in, as Dr. John Douillard is prescribing to us tonight, let's all of us try and eat one beet a day and see if it dramatically improves your digestion and your ability to digest wheat. And just going back to what John said earlier, remember that if you do eat wheat in the form of bread, it has to be oil-free, it has to be sugar-free. There's just 4 ingredients in there. John, question. A lot of people have asked about brands of bread and also pasta. So obviously there is no oil. What is the healthiest way to prepare pasta, and is there a brand that you like? All right, so an ancient grain pasta, and I believe there's a brand called Douillard that has a lot of really great ancient grain pastas, and they have ones with Jerusalem artichoke in and all kinds of really delicious things. So that's maybe one brand that you might want to look at. And 100% whole wheat, my friends. So make sure that it's not refined, that it's whole wheat pasta. Oh, John, I remember something I wanted to ask you. You see, annoyingly, and again, I apologize for you guys listening, I just love talking to John so much. There's just so much information. So John, what about artichokes? So I know artichokes are a really great prebiotic. How do we at home eat them when they're out of season? Because I just see them marinated in jars of oil. What is your recommendation for us and artichokes? Oh. Oh, look at this. So this is what John said. He said artichoke hearts are fine, marinated, in a little bit of olive oil. It's an easy way for us all to get them. And John, what I love to do, and maybe, a really easy recipe for everybody at home, is you could just do a little whole wheat pasta, maybe an ancient grain pasta, and then you can chop up those artichokes. They're so delicious because they have so much flavor, and then you're going to get that oil that comes with it, maybe some sun-dried tomatoes and a little bit of cheese. If you're vegan, you could go for a vegan cheese. If not, you could go for a goat cheese or a parmesan, and there you have a delicious, would you say, healthy dinner, John? Okay, so I'm trying to hold the phone up to the screen, everybody. Oh yes, Patty said she adds artichokes blended into a hummus. John, what are your thoughts on beans? I'm a huge fan of beans, garbanzo beans and all the different legumes and beans. Is that something that you would recommend to everybody as well? Oh, my gosh.
The centenarian people around the world who live over 100 regularly, the centenarians, all of them have at least 2 servings of beans per day.
Oh my gosh, John, I'm so happy you said that, John, because all I tell people to eat is beans. So what John said, so say again, John? Beans, beans, beans. And what John said, for those of you who didn't hear, he said, you know, most people in America eat 15 grams of fiber a day. I always believe it's the forgotten nutrient. And in ancient times, they ate 100 grams a day, my friends. 100. And it's vital, right, John, for for every single bodily process that we get this amount of fiber. And so, and not only that, John, one of the reasons why I've got everybody to have this Get Your Greens challenge with this monumental fiber-filled smoothie every day is because you're getting so much fiber and water and nutrients that you almost can't eat crappy food because you're so full of fiber. So in a funny kind of way, although I'm not a big, I don't promote weight loss diets, you will lose weight because you're replacing the junk with fiber. Now, my friends, okay, I'm just seeing if there was any other question. There are so many questions, John, and we'll go in there and answer them. But listen, my friends, because it's sort of a little, it's not how I wanted this live stream to be. I so wanted you to actually see John. So John, will you promise that you'll come back if I promise you that I'll work out this technology and make it work perfectly? He's All right, so when John comes back, he wants to talk about ancient grains. He wants to talk about all the different kinds of wheat. He wants to talk about all the stuff that we've been told that simply is not true. And I will say that, I'm so, welcome. There aren't that many doctors that I really truly sort of listen to and subscribe to, because it has to be backed with so much scientific evidence. And John's book, by the way, if you're interested and you want this information right now for you and your friends, John's book it's just come out, right? It's brand new. All right, it is brand new. It is available on Amazon right now. It is a fascinating, interesting, informative read, and I really, really recommend it. I recommend that you all grab yourself a copy now from Amazon. You will not regret it, and it really will enhance your health, because John, it sort of is so much more, this book. It's a very big, thick book full of information, and it's so much more than just, eat wheat. John goes into all kinds of things that, John has taught me so much over the years, and so much of this valuable wisdom and expertise is in this book. And you can also visit John's website, which is lifespa.com, isn't it, John? And what I'll do is I'll put that link into this live stream, because it might be interesting also for you, because John has hundreds of YouTube videos, loads of articles. You will spend hours looking at his videos and watching his stuff. All interesting, all so helpful. And also, if you are interested in Ayurvedic herbs or formulas for anything from, anxiety to helping digestion, whatever, John sells everything on lifespa.com. So absolutely fantastic. And skincare, the most amazing skincare, all obviously completely non-toxic, beautiful skincare. So my friends, yes, Patty, we will get back to that. Patty asked, they're all curious about all kinds of things, John. So Patty, we will answer that when I have John properly on this live stream, and I will try and do it as soon as possible. We'll try and do it within the next week, so you can kind of hold all your questions. And we will be picking 3 winners to win 3 copies of this book, and I might even twist John's arm to see if we can pick another winner for the next live stream. But John, I really, really thank you enormously for your time and your passion for this incredibly important subject, and for, you know, busting these health myths that, you know, I'm a great one. You just see these things all over the internet and everybody hopping on it and subscribing to the paleo, the grain-free, the this, the that. And we really do need to get to the bottom of it and the truth. And so often the truth I found is really kind of walking a middle path and going back to, you know, what our grandparents or way back did. And that is unrefined, unprocessed, you know, completely whole grains, clean, no pesticides, and all of that good stuff. So John's going to help us get well and heal our digestion and heal our gallbladders and get that bile flowing so that we can really enjoy our diets, because that's what it's really all about, John. We should be enjoying our food, right? Thank you, John. Thank you for putting up with this, and we'll see you within the week. I'll work all this out, and you guys, thanks so much for joining. Leave any comments and questions that you have for John, because he can hop in and answer those. All right, bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye, John. Bye.